Welcome back to the Gosudar channel. Alright, let's move on. I'll explain a bit more about variables. Data types define how values are stored in memory. For example, in Java, int stores whole numbers, while double stores numbers with decimals. They also define what operation you can perform. For example, 5 plus 5 equals 10. But 5 in quotes plus 5 in quotes operator assignment 55 in quotes because those are strings. If you mix types, Java may convert them. For example, 5 plus 5 in quotes becomes 55 in quotes. But some combinations cause errors. For example, int x operator assignment 5 in quotes, we have a combination error because a numeric data type cannot contain text. It stores numeric values. Data types help catch errors early and make programs more predictable. For example, closet analogy. Imagine a closet, a road with hangers for shorts, shelves for folded clothes. It would be weird to throw clothes in the wrong place, like putting pants directly onto the road. Data types are the same idea. String like clothes on hangers, int like folded clothes. If you put things in the wrong place, it either won't work or everything becomes messy. Let's move on. Now we'll talk about loops. Start with for. What is a loop? A loop is a way to repeat a block of code multiplied times, based on a condition. Instead of writing the same code again and again, you write it once and control how many times it runs. Let's look at an example. Every loop has three parts. Start where it begins, conditions when it continues, and step, how the state changes. This is all. It is a loop, used when you know how many times something should repeat. The conditions here is just a boolean value, like in if. It can only have two values, either true, and then the code executes, or false, and then the code does not execute. And I++ increase one by one after each loop. Here result. Like next. Next while loop, used when you don't understand exact number of repetition. Only conditions matter. How it works. Condition is checked first. If it true, blocks runs. After each run, condition is checked again. Inside of this block of code, we change something each iteration. But very important, if you forget I++, loop will never stop. Next do while loop. Same as a while, but runs at least once before checking conditions. In any case, the first execution will always happen, even in conditions is false. How it works? Runs code 1 first, then checks conditions. If conditions is true, repeats. Here result. Very common mistake. Infinity loop. This is one of the most common mistakes when working with loops. Here's the example. What is happening? I, Citement operator 0, this is starting value. Conditions, I less 5, true, so the loop starts. Inside the loops, nothing changed. Why this is a problem? A while loop works like this. Check the conditions, I less than 5. If true, execute the code inside. Repeat again. But here I always stays 0. 0 less than 5 is always true. So the loop never stops. Here's the result. The program gets stuck running forever. A loop must change something that affects the condition. If the conditions never change, the loop will never end. We can fix it. Now e increases each time, so the condition eventually becomes false and the loop stops. If a variable used in the condition does not change, inside the loop, you create an infinity loop. Alright, we go on next. What is an array? An array is a data structure that stores multiple values of the same type in single variable. In Java it looks like this. How it works? An array is like a list where each element has an index, like in this table. Important, indexing always starts from 0. Declaring an array, this means we are creating a variable called numbers that will store an array of integers. Int, square brackets, equals array of integers. Next, creating an array. This creates an array that can store 5 integers values. At this point, all values are default. For int, it's 0. To access an element, we write the variable name and the index in square brackets. Here, we can use it and assign value 10. Then we can print it. Numbers in square brackets 0 means the first elements in the array. We assign 10 to it, then we print it. Here's the result. How it works. Why arrays are used? Without arrays, we write these lines. This is messy, not scalable, hard to use in loops. With arrays, we can write this in this way. Now we will also talk a little more about strings and its main methods. A string is a data type used to store text. In Java, it looks like this. String methods in Java. Left returns the number of characters in a string. Here's the result. Is empty. Checks if the string is empty. Substring returns part of a string. Here starts is included and is not included. Here's the result. To uppercase, convert text to uppercase letters. To lowercase, converts text to lowercase letters. Trim, remove space from the beginnings and end of a string. String methods are tools for working with text, checking, modify, extracting, and cleaning data. In Java, strings are immutable, meaning every method returns a new string instead of changing the original one. What is increment and decrement in Java? Increment and decrement are basic operators used to increase or decrease a value by 1. X++ adds 1 to a variable. X minus minus subtracts 1 from a variable. Here's an example. Long form x++ is the same as x operator assignment x plus 1. X minus minus is the same as x operator assignment x minus 1. Because increment and decrement has pitfalls. X++ versus plus plus x in a site. Here an example. Result. Here's the result. Why? Why? The old value is used first, then x is incremented. Here's another example. Result. Here's the result. Why? X is incremented first, then assignment. Pitfall in printing. Alright, we covered this. Now we solve two tasks. Task 1, loop. In this task, you need to work with a loop. Write a program that prints all numbers from 1 to 10, but only even numbers. This means you should skip odd numbers like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and print only even ones like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. This is a hint. Use a for loop and an if conditions with the modulus operator to check if a number is divisible by 2. This is expected result. Now task 2. It's about array. In this task you will work with an array. Create an array of 5 numbers and calculate the sum of all elements inside it. This means you need to go through every element in the array, add them together and print the final result. This is hint. Use a for loop to iterate through the array and a variable like sum to store the result. This is example array. This is expected result. These tasks help you practice loops and arrays, which are the basic building blocks of programming in Java.